Welcome to Lunacy, where we discern the sacred from the insane and admit that, whether we like it or not, we are all profoundly affected by the cycles of the moon. How? My guest today is my very good friend, spiritual sparring partner, spiritual teacher, and partner in life and dialogue and discussion, my good friend Karel. Kai is somebody that I've known for years, and we've had just such incredibly deep discussion, and he's had such great teachings to offer, and I really thought this would be an amazing opportunity for all of you to get a little taste of the medicine that my good friend Kai has to offer. So welcome, Kai, to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I definitely, when lunacy isn't concerned, I'm right there.
Fellow lunatic extraordinaire.
Fellow lunatic, for sure.
Yeah, I like it. Great. So this discussion, we really want to talk about the subject, nothing is real, and what that means in terms of our own perspective, and also how other religions view that idea of nothing is real and what it means to us personally and how we can be empowered by that idea. This is also unquestionably a totally shameless plug of my song, Nothing is Real, which I am also releasing the same day, on Sunday for the full moon. I love the song. Kai loves the song. My wife loves the song. My request is, even if you don't like the song, please buy it, because daddy's got to eat. You know what I mean?
The song is loved. The song is loved. And it's real, actually. A real song.
It's a real song about nothing is real. Exactly. Yeah, so I like to just kick it off by us giving that a quick listen. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then we'll listen to it, and then we'll talk about it. Sound good?
If nothing is real, then why do I feel so much love for you? If nothing is real, then why do I feel so much love from you? Who I've known myself to be in this mystery is always wanting. I'm at the door, I've lost the key to the room where life was free and easy. Now the world is upside down, rivers of my mind are since I've lost my crown and the need for always knowing. If nothing is real, then why do I feel so much love for you? If nothing is real, then why do I feel so much love from you? Years go by, they disappear in the atmosphere like floating embers. Feel my fingers and my toes ever drifting into something warm and lovely. I've lost my voice, I've lost my sound, and the nature of my body.
Beautiful.
So that's the song. And so I wanted to kick it off. I know it's like highly unusual for a songwriter to talk in depth about what their song means. It's better to leave it up to the interpretation of the audience. But I'm just throwing that idea under the rug because I think no matter what, you can come to your own conclusion about what nothing is real means and what the chorus means. And I'm more that I would love for you to do that. But I do kind of want to delve into what it means to me because I wrote the song, but also it's because I find the idea of nothing is real so incredibly fascinating. So there's a few things I just want to say up front, and then I want to toss it back to you and you can tell me what you think. You know, the first verse, who I've known myself to be in this mystery is always wanting. That's just true for me. And I feel like most of us suffer from that. There's never enough. I'm at the door. I've lost the key to the room where life was free and easy. You know, I'm not a kid anymore where I just was happy to be alive. You know, I've got all these judgments about life.
Sadly.
Yeah, exactly. Now the world is upside down. Rivers of my mind are overflowing. I think that's true for most of us going about our days. I've lost my sense. I've lost my crown and the need for always knowing. That's kind of like a desperation place to get to where I just don't know what else to do. And then just thinking about if nothing is real, if there's nothing that's actually real in this world, then why do I feel so much love for you? And if nothing is real, then why do I feel so much love from you? Why is there this reciprocal feeling of love? So for me, that's like a huge question of life and something that gives me profound grace and faith that, you know, there is something beautiful happening in this realm other than traffic and assholes, you know, that there's something deeper.
You just summarized life very like...
So I wanted to get kind of a taste of, from your perspective, like, what does that mean? What does this nothing is real mean for you personally?
You know, I will speak personally, but I will also say that this question about reality, whether it's real or not, or what it means, is the foundational questions of all religions and all spiritual paths. Because I'll get to that, but saying or asking if nothing is real or if anything is real or not is actually the same question as who am I? And to the first line of your song, that question, who am I, is the same question as what do I desire? What do I want? These things, our wants, our needs, our growth in life relate to our understanding or capacity to understand whether reality is something that is real or not. You say there's a line talking about the silhouette. This is an example that's used in yoga, but specifically by Ramana Maharishi. And he says this: you are walking at night on the street and suddenly you see a silhouette of a snake. And you get startled because a snake, and it might bite you.
Yeah.
But you take another step and you realize that is actually a branch of a tree.
Uh-huh.
Now, the question is this: the branch of the tree is not a snake. So in reality, it is not a snake. It is just a branch. However, the fear and the startledness and what you're feeling inside of you and how your body is reacting is absolutely real to you.
Yeah.
Which comes and brings us to the idea that realness or not is in relation to perception. How you perceive life will be how you respond to it, which is absolutely real for you. If we're already in the East with yoga, then I'll give just one more example, which is about Shakar. Shakar Achar is known as one of the teachers of non-dualism. The resident king at the time in India heard how famous Shankara is with his ideas. Nothing is real, nothing is real. It's all an illusion. In India, it's called Maya. Nothing is real. So he said, okay, bring this man to me. So he brings the man and says, please teach me your philosophy. And Shankara teaches him, meditation, nothing is real. The ego is false. Nothing is real. So he said, okay, so I'm going to bring my non-real elephant and I'm going to put your non-real head here. And my elephant is going to use his non-real foot and crush your non-real head. And Shakar, no, I don't. It's not like that. So the question is whether this reality is real or not. Even to Shankara that talks about the ego and meditation and disappearing into nothingness. So there are two ways to look at this, and I'll throw it back at you.
Okay. Number
Are
one.
you saying nothing is real? Nothing is real. This mug is not real. This microphone, all of it is not real. Or you're saying nothing, comma, is real.
Yeah, I'm saying both. So that's what's so interesting to me about it, which is why I'm glad you brought it up like that. Because nothing is real. Like the idea that everything that we're seeing is not really what we're seeing. I mean, all you have to do is study the atom to know that we're seeing some kind of a fabrication. But of course, if you take it on a much deeper level, like if you look at quantum physics, then it starts to get super weird because, you got spooky action at a distance, and any photons that are connected, they're always acting at the same, no matter how far apart that they get, which means irrefutably everything is connected. So then nothing really is real. And then there are aspects of that where things only behave one way when they're observed. So like light, for instance, will behave as a wave if we're observing it, but if we're not looking at it, it behaves as a photon. So what does that mean? That means that we as the observer are creating our reality as we see it, even though it doesn't seem that way. Like I broke my elbow, okay, and it hurt.
Was that real to you?
It was, that was definitely real. Okay. I don't know what was going on with the atoms and the spooky action at a distance, but I was screaming in pain. It was super, super hard. But there is, on a scientific level, there's this idea that nothing is real and that we are creating our reality as we go. So if I take that, let's start with that, number one. Let's talk about number one first. If I take that as accurate and that I'm creating my reality at all times, I mean, that could drive me totally insane, first of all. Okay, I could go fucking crazy, know what I mean? Which I don't want to do. But if I take it from like a philosophical perspective, if nothing is real, then I'm creating my reality as I go. Then the story that I tell myself is the real story. And so then I can alter my perspective from, say, being somebody who's always wanting, for instance, and never satisfied, to recognizing that there is a love that I feel that's indescribable, that if I really tune into it and I really call upon that love, like I think, how do I love my life more? How do I love my neighbors more? How do I love my profession more? Then I have a visceral, actual experience. And then I start to think and listen to that voice, and that helps cultivate my reality and how I perceive time and experience. So I guess
you just threw into the mix. You made it so much more complicated because you're adding the concept of time, which is, again, one of the most debatable topics in philosophy and physics. And you added another concept, which is perception. So we have time, perception, and reality. These three, by chance or not, these three are the core foundational philosophical questions. So every philosopher in the history of humanity asked these questions. What is time? What is perception? And what is reality? Now, are these three intermingle in the most beautiful way? Because, for example, we know that if I am at the post office and I'm waiting for my line in the line to get to the person helping me, even if it's 3 minutes, that will be the longest 3 minutes ever.
Right.
If I'm in line in the airport and I'm waiting for my beloved, every moment, even though it's 3 minutes, it's filled with excitement and joy and alertness. If I am watching a movie that's really riveting and I'm so deeply in it, it might be 2 hours, but oh my God, we just started. It's over. Mm-hmm. Which means that the way that I perceive time is in direct relation to my level of involvement and enjoyment and bliss and happiness from that which I am experiencing.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we all love sex is actually because we experience the sensation of timelessness.
Yeah.
If you're really enjoying it, no one's going to say, oh my God, it's been like 20 minutes already. Wow, 40. Wow. No, yay. You're in it. You're enjoying. Some people 2 minutes. Wow, it's already 2 minutes. Whatever it is. But the point is that it is a timeless experience. So timelessness, not having to measure, seems to be pleasurable for us. So now we're adding pleasure to the pleasure, joy, happiness into the equation. What studying, as all philosophers did, what studying perception, time, and reality helps us do is to understand that life is divided into two main branches, purpose and meaning. If I relate to my life in a purposeful/useful way, this cup has a specific purpose, which is to contain liquid so I can drink it. That's its purpose, which means that I can, but I should not be using this as a hammer, or I should not be using this as something to open my door. It has a specific purpose. It is limited for that. However, this specific cup also can have a very deep emotional meaning to me. It was given to me by my beloved, and she cared about me in that moment, and we proposed, and who knows what, right? I can give this cup a huge meaning. So from being a useful thing that I just used to drink, I can drink it while, wow, it really means a lot to me. So that brings us the understanding that reality becomes real or not in correlation to the amount or choice of meaning that we give to it. The same, like you said, doing what I love or doing what I don't love. Nietzsche said something I really love. He said, don't do what you love what you do.
Yes.
Which brings us to the place of, how do I make things real to me? By bringing love into them.
Yeah.
That's why your song is saying, if nothing is real, how come this love that comes to me is so meaningful? Whether I experience it outwards or inwards, but this love changes everything around me to be so real and so meaningful and so full of life that it becomes real. That in my life, which does not have love, I don't like doing, I don't love doing, does not move and excites me in that kind of way, is starting to fade away.
Right.
Right? Makes sense?
Yeah. If I'm choosing love. Yeah. Which brings me to another point that I love to talk about on the podcast and in life. One of the things that I'm a huge proponent of is adopting the love operating system. Whereas very often, we go through life just thinking about how much more can we get and accumulate. And the model that we have inherited, unfortunately, is a greed-based, scarcity-based, fear-based model where we're just constantly trying to get more and make sure that everything that we have is protected. But if we come from a love-based operating system where we choose to love more and we ask ourselves consciously, how is it that I love more in my life? And how do I even love the thing that I don't love doing? How do I get to a place where I can come from a place of love so that I abandon all of the fear-based, scarcity-based model that has me just constantly feeling like I can never get enough and I'm never satisfied? So I think that's something that's, for sure part of the song and part of my personal mission for myself and everyone else.
So now we can look into the question is whether having brings us the same meaning as loving. Let me ask you, is it enough for you that you have a partner, have a wife? Doesn't matter if I love her or not. Like, I have her, she's there, he's there, and that's it. Or what actually matters is the fact that there's a loving relationship between us, whether it's long distance, whether it's close distance, whatever it is. What makes this relationship meaningful is not the fact that we own each other and we have each other, but the conscious choice to keep choosing to be in each other's life. That's why often I say that more empowering than saying I love you is to say I choose you. Because that's an act of freedom. That's an act of love. Okay, you're there. What can I do? I have to love you. No, it's not like that. What we want, again, is that conscious choice of continuously choosing to be present to the love that's coming up. So what happens in our often reality is that we have taught ourselves that we need to have things in order to feel accomplishment or in order to feel enough. So now we're stuck in a loop. And the loop is only because we haven't paused and asked ourselves the question whether what it brings us is actually real.
Right.
Is it truly what I'm feeling? If I have the newest iPhone, am I really more Am I really better? Is that actually truly my reality? And, if you work in marketing, you know that the way to get people to buy is by creating scarcity.
Yeah.
You have 7 minutes before the price goes up. So you're like, okay, I gotta get that knife and I gotta get that whatever.
Right.
Because it's gone. And so if you think about it, maybe not in 7 minutes, and maybe yes, in X amount of time, this life will be gone. So what matters more? How are you keeping it? And how are you holding on to it? Or how are you living it? What's actually happening in the day-to-day and the moment-to-moment? And that's where we also have to remember the differentiation between leaving our philosophies and our ideas mental in our mind, which will lead to lunacy, or is it something that actually comes to our day-to-day and how we're living our lives?
Yeah.
Whether it's remaining spiritual or is it becoming grounded as a part of how we're living our lives?
Right. Yeah, which I think that's so beautiful. I love what you said. And also, by the way, hashtag Kai married me and my wife, which we just watched the video today.
Wow.
And I have to remind myself how much I love her and how much I choose her. And I'm always aware of the capacity for me to take her for granted and get annoyed, which inevitably we all do, get annoyed with each other. But like, for instance, with my father, right? At some point 20 years ago, I got over any beefs I had with my father. I realized he gave me life and he gave me a great life. And I forgave him for all of whatever his missteps, parenting. He was doing the best he could. And I really created with him that we would just have nothing between us. And now we have this relationship where whenever I see him or talk to him, it's just nothing but love. And I experience that when I'm with him, when I'm talking to him, because I cultivated and created that. Now that for me is an invaluable relationship. There's no question that like when I go to my deathbed, I'm going to think, man, I just had a great relationship with my dad and I honored him for who he was and what he gave to me. And the same that's how I also feel about friends and people around me in my relationships. That to me is the most important commodity is how do I leave people? How are they affected by me? And how can I serve them in a way that brings them more love and value to their life? Even if it's just that they know that I'm there for them, that they can call me if they got a problem or they're dealing with something, So yeah, like you're saying, the concern about material objects and falling into the trap that marketers are trying to tell us that we won't be complete in our lives if we don't buy the newest fucking gadget or whatever it is, or, et cetera. That's all hogwash. How do I really live a life where I feel complete in my relationships, where I feel like I'm giving and receiving love, which is also part of the song. Nothing is real.
How do we do that? First, by slowing down and starting to ask ourselves more questions about why I do what I do, and understanding that our automations are what often brings us pain. The fact that I just do without any questioning, without any asking, is a big part of why we're suffering. Instead of I'm living, it'll be life happens to me. Another thing is around questioning is you mentioned your dad. So imagine like we have a certain label. So that person, his name is Greg. He's a person. Before he was a dad, he didn't got born and hello, dad. No, he had a long life until then he decided to become a dad. And from that moment, suddenly there's like a label on here saying dad. And with that label comes so much projection and so much expectation and so much he has to do certain things because he's the dad. But imagine, because there are societies around the world that live like that, imagine that once the baby is born, it is not a guarantee that the same parents are actually the ones that are going to take it. Imagine there was like this house, people give birth, and then whoever wants, like, okay, I want to take this one. It would be more choice-based and not like you gotta do it because you did the deed and now there's a baby, so you gotta take care of them. We as a child often have so much projection of expectation. They had me, so now they have to feed me, take care of me, and pay for college and do all these and buy me a car at 16 and do all these things they have to do because they're a parent. But if I remove this label, then I can understand, first of all, this is just a human being that has the challenges that I'm facing. And as an adult, maybe it's really hard to be also a dad. And it allows us to come again to a place of Are we actually choosing this relationship? Sometimes as a child, I'm like, you know what? I'm choosing something different. And sometimes as a parent, sorry, I love you, but I'm choosing my health and my well-being, and I'm not going to be expected of to do all these type of things for you. So again, it comes back to bringing what? Awareness around choice in any kind of relationship that we have, whether it's family, relationship. And for some people, it's hard to hear this because of what I mean. They're my dad and they have to do these things.
Yeah, or
No,
they did
don't.
terrible things to me and it's just awful.
And that's what they could as a human being. That's what they could at that moment. You could have responded differently also. No, I couldn't. Perhaps it comes back to what am I choosing and how am I choosing? Am I choosing to live life as a reaction or as I'm choosing to live life as a response? In other words, whether I'm bringing this as something that's real to me or not.
Right.
I'm the one that will choose if life and love is real or not.
Yeah.
Nothing is real or everything is real. What makes it real is how I'm choosing to relate to it. Again, back to perception.
Right.
How I spend my time in this life, because it's very short, it's a blink of an eye, is how I choose. What do I focus the attention becomes real? What I don't focus my attention, follow automatically is no longer real. It happens. Reality, again, back to those early philosophers, there's so many different approaches, but let's say many of them would agree or kind of declare that real life is in the eyes of the beholder, right? So you are the defining factor if something is real or not.
Right.
Right? So what I love about the song is that with all the lunacy that it brings about, challenges of life, how come love is real? Because love is, the thing about love is that it's meaning. It's not purpose.
Mm-hmm.
If I asked you, give me the specific reasons that you love your wife, which I love also so much. Why do you love Christine? What are the reasons? If you could take a piece of paper and write down the 20 different points, I would tell you that's not love. At the end of this list, you might have reasons why you love her, but at the end of this life, I just do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
And that's what matters. That those things you can't explain, who are falling in love like a lunatic, and I don't even understand why, seem to be the things that are the most real and most valuable and most precious to us.
Yeah.
Those things that are so defined and explained and supposedly so real are often the things that aren't so real for us, right? Makes sense?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think that's part of, for me, what is so fascinating about, and also why the song is, I don't really know what's going on. I mean, I feel like anybody that has a definitive picture of what reality is and what we're supposed to do is, don't listen to that guy. I don't think anybody really knows what's happening. But without question, if I look into the eyes of a baby or a dog, I see love. And if
Or a baby dog.
Or a baby dog, exactly. Or a baby cat, kittens. We have one, not right now. I tell you, that thing is just a love gusher, basically. Big fat love sponge. But particularly with humans, right? With babies, there's just no question that the baby is experiencing love, and you can feel it when you interact with the child. And you could see that there's something that they're connected to that we are no longer as connected to because they don't have the capacity of language and discernment. They're not sitting there constantly thinking, categorizing things and putting things in places so that they can navigate their life. And there's none of those things. They're just experiencing life and seeing things without definition, without language. They're not concerned of that. And in that natural state of innocence, there's no question that they're experiencing love, that they're giving and receiving love, that they are just a vessel. And then,
Again, I would say to the best of our ability, because we don't know what's going on inside of them. But what we can see is that they're in a state of what we call awe.
Right.
They're just amazed and curious about life. What seems to happen as we grow older is that sense of curiosity is often replaced with cynicism and a state of being jaded with everything.
Resignation.
So what changed? What changed is that our curiosity, which had so much meaning. Think about it. As a child, you take, let's say, a card box from the garage and it becomes a spaceship and a pirate ship, and you give it so much meaning, and it's just a car box. As you become in your 30s, 20s, okay, I need to cut it and put it in the blue trash, right? So it becomes the meaning has been lost, and now this box has only a purpose, no longer a meaning to me. The more you're able to retain a sense of curiosity and meaning and understand, as it's hard for us to accept, your life is not a journey after purpose. Your life is a journey after meaning. Because often, especially as we begin our spiritual journey early in life, most people will say, I need to find my purpose. What is my purpose in life? And my question will be, how many years would you like to waste in looking for it? Once you can say, okay, I don't have a purpose. Let me ask you, what is the purpose of your song?
I don't know.
There is none. It's not like you're saying, okay, the purpose, and some people are like to make money and to this. And no,
Right.
A good song evokes feeling. It's like a piece of art. It's something you hang on a wall or listen to in your car and just feel. And if anything, the purpose would be feeling.
Yeah.
But it's not that it was created to create a specific feeling. The box is not specifically to ship things in it. It can be anything. It can be a pirate ship or anything else.
Right.
So the point of life is to stop purposing and utilizing and utilitarianizing it, but living it as an expression of art and as expression of love and expression of beauty. And then suddenly the same life, the same box, the same limit can be so open and so full and so enjoyable, like a child that is relating to it in the first time. You know where you see it the most? If you go have like someone who's like 4, 5, 6 years old, under the age of 7. So their, ego is not so developed. Under that age, give them a stack of paper and crayons and tell them, have fun, paint. They're going to take a paper, scribble, throw it away. Another one, a horn, another one, unicorn, throw it like that. Okay, now give the same stack and crayons to an adult. You are going to get a very defined house with a door and a chimney and a sun smiling. But what do I need to paint and how does it look? And they will no longer, how people will see this and they will tell, no, I'm not a good painter. I'm not a good.
Right.
There's so much mind. It's like, just enjoy it. You're going to burn it at the end.
Yeah.
Well, who cares? That is the difference, where there's so much evaluation of am I seen in my actions? Will I be a judge? Can I put it on Instagram? How many likes my painting is going to have? That's where we're at. So the journey, that's why it's called the return to innocence, because we're returning to the state of less need for validation. And the thing is, we find it as we grow older. Alan Weiss, one of my favorite teachers, says, life can only be lived forward, but understood backwards. And I'm finding it, I'm getting closer to 50. I'm like, yeah, it starts to make sense.
Yep.
The older we get, wow, I was a lunatic before. So much need for appreciation, so much need for validation, how much energy was wasted.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I can just paint for myself and I don't need to post it and I don't need to do something about it and I can enjoy the experience. But these are learned behaviors in terms of where it goes south and where it goes north, but also to change this as an adult requires consciousness and choice and awareness
and effort. Yeah, exactly.
And effort and healing
and gratitude and doing practices. And I wrote something before we started. If nothing is real, literally we are creating our reality as we see it, then our perceptions become our reality. And they do. Our context drives our experience. We call in things to happen based on our beliefs and insecurities, which affect our behaviors, which then, if they are negative or positive, will attract whatever experience supports that context or belief matrix. Fortunately, we can always alter our beliefs if we are willing to make the uncomfortable effort. If you or I am willing to dig deep, contemplation, meditation, dialogue, personal development, reading, exercise, we can absolutely transform ourselves in the world around us.
Exactly. That's it. Often people ask about this, about manifestation and how is it law of attraction and how do we call into our lives. You said so beautifully, how do we call into our lives what we want to see? It is actually a very biological answer. The brain has a certain capacity of focus. For example, they've researched this and realized that our frontal memory, our short-term memory, works in units of 7. And that's why phone numbers almost all around the world are 7 digits, because that's easy for us to remember. We can remember in boxes of 7. If it was even 8 or 9, it would be much harder for us to remember. But what it means is something else. I'm talking science, that the brain is called a deletion creature or computer, which means that I can look around and there's 1,000 things here, way more than 7. But for me to relate to this, I have to limit this and delineate 7 things that I'm focused on at a given moment. Which means that if I am training my neural pathways to look for specific things, I will see them. They will show up to me more in the foreground than in the background. If someone is really focusing, they just had a breakup and they're really hurting, you and them will go to a party and they'll look around the party and there's one couple out of the entire party that is fighting. You will ask them, how was the party? Oh, horrible. These people were fighting. There was so much fighting. Someone else, I have a lot of friends right now that they're in love. They're in love. So they will go to the same party and they're like, oh my God, people were kissing passionately. There was so much love in the air. Same party. How can it be so different? Because each one of them, their deletion habit in their brain, what their brain was able to focus and see was those things that they're at this moment consciously focused on. So these couple are focused on love. These couple are focused on breakup. That's what they're going to see. People think miraculously you're manifesting the love. You're manifesting that which you're focused on, which you're consciously putting your effort into focusing on. And that's something that you can't cheat yourself. So if I just wake up and I have like on my mirror, you're beautiful and I'm wealthy and all these things, but in your conscious, wounding or whatever, you have lack mentality. You can have signs all around your house. I'm wealthy, but you will still look at them and see, oh, that mirror is broken. Oh, that door needs replacing. Oh, I need to change the paint of this wall. You will not be able to see I'm wealthy. One of my favorite stories come from Zen. A Zen master and his student are walking by the wall of China. And if you've been there, I haven't. I want to go one day. It's miles and miles and miles.
We should go together. Let's do it.
Let's go.
And then we'll do some lunacy from there.
Exactly. So they're walking by this wall and this literally humongous white wall going forever. And they're walking hours. And after a while, they're stopping by a part of the wall where there's one green plant in the middle. So the master is asking, pointing to the wall and saying to his student, what do you see? And the student looking at the tree and says, there's a plant there in the middle. And the master says, exactly. He says, what do you mean? He says, you just showed me what your problem is. What do you mean? He says, I see miles and miles of wall with a little bit of plant in the middle. It says, but that's what I said. It says, no, you said you see a plant. It's exactly where we're at. We can so easily focus on that one thing that's hurting and ignore miles of gratitude and beauty that have shown up in our lives. We have a partner that is so amazing in cooking for us and loving us and tending to our cat and doing a million things. But they forgot to put down this toilet seat or bring the remote or whatever. And from miles of beauty, but I see the remote, And that's what we need to learn, to expand our consciousness and be more focused on the miles of amazingness and less on the lack mentality. However, this is a behavior that we need to grow into. The expansiousness from reaction to the plant to their response, but yes, plant, but miles of wall.
Yeah.
Without conscious effort, whether it's meditation, self-help work, self-therapy, whatever it is, without that, you are just going to fall trap to the indoctrination that you have around you from society.
Mhm.
Buy the new phone, go to the new Avatar movie, like whatever it is, bombarded
Get
by
more likes on Instagram or wherever.
exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
So you listen, people tell me, oh, I don't need to do any self-help work. I'm saying, yeah, but you are doing not help work all the time also.
Right.
So you are investing in shaping your consciousness. Whether consciously or not, it's up to you. Whether it's real or not is up to you. You are choosing lunacy out of choice or lunacy out of reaction.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, it brings up two things for me. One is the reticular activating system, which is like where, if we're saying if we're going to buy a car, then wherever we look, we're going to see that particular car. Oh my God, everybody's driving that car. Or we bought that car. So everybody's got that car now. It's all got to. Or if we're upset about something, like you say, we go to the party, we find the people who are like really mad at the party because our reticular activating system, our mind is looking to prove that thing that we have in our head true and find it. So whatever our hypothesis is, that we're carrying in our mind, our belief structure, that's constantly what we're looking to prove correct, which I think is a lot of what you're pointing to. And the only way that we can get behind that is to just stop and look at that notion in the first place. What is it that we're hearing behind? What are our reactions? Like, how do I listen to the thing that I'm saying to myself about this? And then how is that absolutely affecting my reality? If I believe that I am not enough, if I believe that I'm never going to find love, if I believe that I'm never going to make it, that I'm never going to be successful, if I believe that I'm going to be a failure for the rest of my life, that all shit constantly happens to me, then that I'll prove that to be true. Whereas if I, as you're saying, really analyze those belief structures and look at and say, wait a minute, hold on a second. I'm alive, first of all, and I'm breathing. And what are the things around me? How do I be grateful for all the things in my life? And so then how do I let that transform my way of thinking and perceiving things so that I'm looking for more love in my life?
If everything is perception, I love this saying, whether you believe that you can or you believe that you can't, you're right.
You're right. Exactly.
Right? So again, the focus
who's
is,
that
but
quote
the
from?
question
Is it Henry Ford? I heard Henry Ford, but I feel like
I think
it's
so.
before
I think
that
so, yeah.
too.
But
Somebody else said
probably,
it.
someone believed it
Socrates is something. I don't know.
The point of the matter is that that leads, this entire conversation lead to actually one question, which is, so how do I train or work with or understand my beliefs?
Mm-hmm.
Because those beliefs are what's going to determine your reality, whether it's real or not, right?
100%.
It's who you are. One of my favorite sayings is actually about belief in God, but by Thomas Aquinas, which said, for those who believe, no explanation is necessary. For those who do not, no explanation will suffice.
Right.
Which means, again, coming back, that you are the determining factor between what is real or not for you. So the question has to be, okay, I get that. However, I'm willing to admit, stand in my weakness and see that I do believe a lot of, using your terminology, shit that's going on.
Thank you.
In my mind.
Thank you for saying
like
shit.
I believe in so many painful things I believe to be my reality.
Yeah.
I believe in I'm stupid, I can't, I this and that. So, okay, at least I'm willing to admit that, which is a huge first step. How do I change this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I hate using this terminology, but that's where spiritual practice comes to place, because all that it is striving to do is add 1 second between reaction to response.
Yeah.
Whether it is meditation, plant medicine, silence retreats, darkness retreats is now very popular. So many different things. All that it brings up is that you need to add more seconds between your reaction and your response.
Mm-hmm.
And you will eventually start to realize that these thoughts, to utilize the words of the Buddha, are nothing but passing clouds.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're noticing that at this moment, your clouds, your thoughts, they're constantly raining and you're unhappy with, it's because what you're doing is there's a dark cloud that's raining and you're walking with it no matter where it goes. Like, oh, I need to continue this self-sabotaging. The Buddha says if you sit there unmoving, eventually this cloud is going to pass.
Right.
All that's required is the willingness to sit still and witness the motion of the clouds. That will slowly add one more second that the thought comes up and like, it's just a thought. It's not reality.
Yeah.
It's a thought.
Right.
And then there will be 2 seconds and then 3 and 4 and 5. And one day you will be like, oh, self-defeating thoughts are coming. Let me just wait until they pass. And you'll be able to, for example, an argument in your relationship is, listen, right now there's kind of tornado clouds above me. Can we talk in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And instead of reaction and exploding, you'll be like, wow, that was crazy. That was just my wounding. Let me see. Ooh, hello, ciao. And come back to your partner and like, okay, storm has passed. Can we now normally, humanly talk about this?
That totally works. I mean, we did that. I did that this morning. Christine and I have been really like conscious of that recently. I'll just ask her to stop. I'll just be like, can you just stop just for a second? Just stop for a couple minutes. And that prevents me from going into like getting all mad and like being triggered and then stuck in the trigger and then not able to get out of it because I see that it's coming and I just say, stop. Now she gets it. We both get it. And then she'll just stop. There's nothing else about it. She doesn't need to keep going, and then a couple minutes later, I'll be like, okay, now that's gone.
Available.
And I get we're able to actually have a conversation about what was behind that and have humor about it, which has been, we have a great relationship, but obviously it is a constant effort. Don't lay down on your relationship. You got to constantly be generating that you love and care about each other and
conscious effort.
Yeah, conscious effort, which brings up, so that was the other thing that I was thinking about. You were talking about how, either you're doing some sort of personal development work or you're just being further diluted from reality.
But the point that I really want to make is that because often people tell me, I'm just not doing personal thing, but so what? I'm like, listen, you are constantly being affected and your choices are not your own.
Right.
Unless you're in a cave somewhere on an island and you're completely disconnected from life. Right. But you're constantly affected, whether it's by, people's rage on the traffic or highway or from commercials or from your phone or whatever. It's so funny for me. Everyone knows this. See, I'm holding my phone and I'm going to say lobster. My phone is off, whatever. Lobster. In an hour or so, I'm going to open Instagram and suddenly there's an ad for lobster. Yeah, right. So we're constantly and I'm not going into a conspiracy theory. Whatever it is, the reality we live in.
Yeah,
just being aware that we are constantly being affected by reality. Yeah. So the question is whether I'm consciously doing that or subconsciously. That's the only difference.
Yeah,
because that is the difference. What we started this conversation about. Whether I'm following my perception of life or life is being perceived for me.
Right. Exactly.
This is, at the end of the day, this is the end. I don't want to call it goal, but the direction of every spiritual practice. For you to understand that you are a co-creator.
Yeah.
That you are creating life as you walk it. And that will be the difference 100%. Between loving what you do or doing what you love.
Yeah. That's it. So here's my segue into the part 2, the number 2 way of interpreting nothing is real. Nothing, is real, right? Then that's a thing to say no thing is real, a state of no thing, a state of non-perception, which Buddhism would call nirvana, etc. And, there's an acknowledgement that's God and Yahweh and all these different traditions. You can't name the nameless thing because it can't be named because you can't understand it because it is no thing, right? No thing is real. God is real, if you will. Is also prayer. Prayer is for me, that's a huge practice to getting to a point where it doesn't have to be like I'm praying for, I want 47 crayons of purple color and I want them to be 80 feet tall. And it's, nothing like that. You can just pray. You can just sit in meditation, do non-image, non-verbal prayer, which according to Father Ren, who was my first Zen teacher, pointed out 4 forms of prayer. There's petition for what you want. There's penance for something that you did. There's gratitude for something you're grateful for. And there's non-image, non-verbal, which is the highest form of prayer, which is where you just are just sitting in meditation and observing your thoughts, as you say. And that's prayer. And meditation to me is absolutely look, I don't know. I guess it's not for everyone, but without it, I would be just a complete asshole. And I know that. I meditated for an hour this morning, which I don't usually meditate that long, but it's super important. And I guess for me, my point is about prayer as a practice, because people are terrified of the word prayer because they think that, oh, well, he's got to be some sort of weird Baptist. He's probably, doing some kind of, I don't even know what he's doing, but he's probably speaking in tongues all the time. And it's just weird, man. It's not like that. It's prayer is what it is for me. It's my prayer. And it's got nothing to do with you or your religious belief. There's nothing about that. But what I submit to people in general is that consider that we're all praying all the time anyway, that we're always in a state of prayer, that the thoughts that we're thinking are prayers that we're giving to ourselves that are creating our reality. And so if we actually take the time to sit in prayer and meditation or whatever that looks like for you, whatever your tradition allows for, then that also gives you extra time to determine what are the beliefs and the values that are governing my reality right now. So yeah, that's something that I think is super important. And it falls into us discussing the number 2 form of nothing is real, that no thing is real. Nothing, is real.
I'll say 2 things about this. So I am looking at you right now, and it's a little pixelated, but I'm looking at you. Imagine that you're right here. I can touch you and my hand will not go through your face, right? You're solid to me. You're completely solid, I believe. However, if I take you under a microscope, the funny thing is what I'm going to discover that the highest percent of what you are made of is space. There is more space. Like the deeper and deeper I go, closer I get to the atoms of what makes Geoff a Geoff, I will realize that there's so much space. In between just one atom of yours, there's more space between the Sun and Pluto. There's way more space. So you're actually, what I'm looking at is an absolute representation of nothing. But however, for whatever reason, it looks very real to me. So we can go into the esoterics of things are not physically, scientifically as they appear to be. However, it is still real for me. Again, I cannot pass my hand through you. Now,
thank God.
Whether it's real or not, again, what matters is what kind of impact it has on my life. If I relate to you and I say, Geoff isn't real, then what I'm actually saying is that your words, your presence, your life is not affecting me in any possible way. And I don't care about it, right? It is my meaning that you're my friend and you're my teacher and I have so much I can receive and learn from you and your songs touch me. Then suddenly you become really real for me. You're important to me in the sense of you impact me. So now we're coming to a place where we are understanding that real or not is that which creates impact. How this, whatever it is, real or not, how is it impacting me? What is the impact that it has on my life? Which is how I choose to relate to you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in that sense, this nothing that you are, whatever it is, I don't care. I care about how is it real to me. I wanted to say, before I move on, something in relation to what we spoke about relationships and pausing. And it's important because, again, this is coming back to conscious effort. How beautifully you said you can say to a challenging conversation, stop, let's revisit this in 5 minutes, and then we come back in a different way. Mm-hmm. What is important is that if we see a pattern that we have fighting in a relationship, when I work with couples, one thing that I'll tell them, you make these rules when you're not triggered. Because if someone is telling me something and they're upset, I'm saying, stop. Then, hey, what stop? You stop. It becomes worse. However, if we set up the game, listen, when you come to me like that and I'm in an emotional storm and I can't process it, it's not going to go well. Let's breathe, stop, change this reaction to a response, and we can come back differently. However, this we can do if we're conscious of the pattern. We're conscious of what's happening, and we can make better and more empowered choices around it. So with that being understood, let's get back to nothing, comma, is real.
Nothing, comma, is real. Yes.
What makes the comma, what makes it real, coming back to is my conscious awareness of it. I'm just tying everything that we're, because
That's great.
What makes this nothing, like this argument, one can say it's nothing. It's not important for me what you're saying, but I'm going to add a comma there. It is real to me because I am impacted by it. Your words are meaningful to me. I cannot handle them right now. I'm triggered. Let me add a comment to what I consider nothing and I want to hear it. It is real, even if just for you. I need a comma, a breath of air, a pause, walk away for a second, so that nothing will be very real and very impactful and very important to both of us together. So in a way, this entire span of spiritual practice is learning how to add a comma after nothing.
Yeah.
This life, is a blink of an eye. All that we are, you, me, is a comma, a pause, some a comic relief, some a dramatic comma, but it's just a comma. It's like, yeah, pause for a second in the life of the nothingness of everything. In 1,000 years, this webinar, who knows if it will even exist. It's just a comma, like a dot in time. But it's meaningful to you. It's meaningful for me. Perhaps it'll be meaningful for someone else. But what makes it real or not is how you and I relate to it. And that's just the comma. It is nothing or everything. What makes a difference is how we're choosing to relate to it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's great. Yeah, totally.
I remember in the beginning you said you want us to talk about lunacy, like insanity.
Oh, I
something
wanted to
about
talk.
that.
So the point of the show is, the opening is where we discern the sacred from the insane. So I like to ask my guests, I'm going to start asking my guests with you, Kai. All right. From now forward, I'm going to ask, what is sacred to you and what is insane?
I actually just spoke about this a couple weeks ago. And for me, the word sacred, sanctity, comes from the Latin root of bring to light, which means sacred is that which is in the light, meaning again done with consciousness and awareness, where insane is that which needs to be hidden. In what sense? What is normal or not, again, is in the eyes of the beholder. What is normal in one tradition is insane in another. For us, for example, eating dogs, that's insane. It's horrible. Somewhere else in the world, that is a part of their culture. Some people eat people, cannibals, and that's very sane and normal
Not
to
us.
them.
Let's be clear. There's no cannibals among Kai or
No
myself.
judgment. No judgment.
No judgment,
Who
but
knows?
that's not something we do.
However, the point is that normalcy or sanity is in the eyes of the tradition, religion, society, whatever. For me personally, I choose to relate to my own life that I hold sacred, that which is done with choice and awareness. Obviously in harmony. So someone say, yeah, but murdering consciously. No, you can't murder consciously, actually, because you'll be aware of the pain that you're inflicting upon others and the cycles and the ripples of it. But I would say this. Often I find that people confuse things that, for example, sexuality for one person is sacred, for the other isn't. One person will say kinky sexuality is not sacred. This kind of interaction is or isn't sacred. Going to the temple is sacred. Going to a soccer game isn't. I find that definition that there are certain things that are sacred or spiritual and other things who are not is really truly an internal experience. There's no external definition of what is or isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I love one of the sayings of Gautama Buddha. He said, if you ever find Buddha on the path, kill it.
Yeah. Kill him.
There's actually a story that I think you will appreciate. That's speaks to your character. So Zen master walks with his disciple, and the disciple says, just hold on 1 second, I gotta pee. And he unzips his pants and he wants to pee on a rock. And then his teacher says, what are you doing? This is a sacred rock. You can't pee here. Okay, he unzips and he keeps on walking. And then after a minute or so, he's coming to pee on a tree. What are you doing? This is a sacred tree. And on for hours. Finally, they get to a clearing in the forest, and the master is sleeping it's okay, I gotta rest, and sitting there to sleep. And he wakes up to his disciple peeing on him. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, sorry, that's the only unsacred thing that I could have possibly have found here. So, in that same kind of way, sacred is an inner state of decision and being. Everything is sacred, nothing is sacred. I like to use the words vainly profound and profoundly profane. What makes a difference is internal, not an external definition. But I will add to that, over the experience I've had with different people around time, I would add to sacred the word harmony, that which is done with harmony with others. It might be very sacred to me, but if it hurts someone else and it is offensive to other people, I will find a harmonious way to express my sacred. That will be in delight, and in delight means in consideration with others.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that insane is really that which is out of harmony, meaning that I'm not willing to consider anyone else's reality, and which often
or they are
used to
not
be
considering
hidden.
other people's reality. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Insane or enough for you, or in?
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. It's good.
What would you answer that?
For me, what is sacred is the search. What is sacred is the seeking. I mean, everything that you said, all right, I'll just add that in to my answer, okay? And also the seeking itself, the looking beyond the basic, the effort to just look beyond and think about, why is it that the branches of the tree totally mirror the capillaries that go into my lungs, and the roots of the tree totally mimic the branches that are going up? What's up with that? What's up with the stars? What's going on with the moon? Why do wolves howl? Why are animals generally loving? Why is that like a thing? Those are things that are sacred. And what's insane to me is when I and people around me are totally dissatisfied and not paying attention to what the deeper meaning of things are, and just looking out for myself, and really coming from like a greed-based place, doing things like, murdering each other, that kind of thing. That to me is insane, because those people who are committing those kind of things I think they're insane, because they're not looking deeper. And also, we didn't ask, nobody asked them. I don't think. I think people who act like that and do terribly atrocious things, atrocity type mass violence things, unfortunately they don't have anybody in their life that sits down with them and says, what's really going on? Can we just talk for a minute?
They're in reaction to a certain external stimuli that perhaps many of them never had that person that's really, hey, what do you need? How can I help you?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's one of the things I think for me, like, it's where that also translates to a society, that we are insane as society, and on some level, that we don't really truly ask somebody, how are you, out of a sense of really hearing them and receiving their answer. It's more like we're asking them just to kind of make small talk and move on. We don't really actually care. And we're not giving an actual genuine response. We're just saying, oh, yeah, it's fine, everything's good, when really things are just crumbling behind the scenes, And if somebody answers, yeah, everything's good, and you can tell, because usually you can tell if you're being at all perceptive, you can tell that something's going on. Then you can always say, are you sure? If you really want to talk about it, I'm here for you. So you can just tell me whatever. We don't show up for each other like that. It'd be really great if we did. So that's my pitch. Awesome. All right. We should wrap it up. Kai, I love you so much. You're such an amazing teacher and human and fellow seeker. And I just really appreciate you taking your time today to talk to me about Nothing is Real and help deliver my song to people in a way that's a little more meaningful, has them thinking a little deeper.
I'm really grateful to witness you showing up with your music and coming out from your silent basement closet, because I love your music, and I'm imagining some people that are listening to this might hear a recording of your music, and I got the fortune of seeing you perform live many times. And I think as a singer, that is your greatness, because you are your music, you are your guitar, you're singing your truth. And I think for me to experience this song coming out of you in the way that it does, and seeing your face as you're singing it and feeling how I feel when I feel you singing it is truly your greatest gift, because you make it really real for me. I feel it. I'm impacted by your music, the words of it. There was one song that you wrote for my wife that changed both of our lives forever. It was the most impactful song. It has been real and will be real forever for us.
Yeah.
And it captured the emotion and the pain that was in that moment and the experience in such a profound way. But what touched us both more than anything is how you sang it and how you brought it out. So that's my really gratitude to you. And I hope and I pray for those watching this to have not only a recorded version of you and your songs, but also to see you in person.
Wow. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the validation.
I love you.
And love. I love you too. By the way, that
Thank you for
song is
calling me
recorded.
in.
It'll be coming out this year. So on one of the full moons later down the road. So
Is this song Nothing Is Real, is it already with a video to it or just recorded audio?
So today, the day that this podcast is released, also the song is released and the music video, which is
amazing.
I just finished with my friend Julie. It was awesome. Sort of like
Excited to see
I fell in love with the forest in the video.
Yay. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. All right. Thank you so much, Kai.
Thank you. Thank you. Love and gratitude.
Yeah.
I'm always here.
Right on. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to Lunacy. If you haven't already, please subscribe. To hear Nothing Is Real, go on over to Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your music. You can watch the video on YouTube. Just search Nothing Is Real, Geoff Eido. GeoffEido. You can follow me on those platforms as well. If you want to support me and my music or this podcast, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Geoff Eido. Lunacy was created by me with podcast production and management by Kimberly Joy Voice, LLC. See you next time. How?